that title.
You taught too?
Yes, I did. I did teach economics at the Dominican State College, and of course, I did my master's. But Matt, that I can give a grade 4 because that is very specific in terms of the performance of this government in the economy. I would give the government of Dominica a D. For the economy, yes. Our economy has not really grown. On paper, for 2025, it was projected that Dominica's economy would expand by about 4.5%. I'm subject to correction by Dr. Fontaine. I'm not too sure that would realize that. But on the ground, we did not feel economic growth. We may have had a growth, a nominal growth, but in terms of productivity, we would not experience that in Dominica. And this government has not and has never given the nation an economic policy, whether for short term, medium term, or long term. What we have seen under this administration is an expansion of imports, a decline in exports, and that is a major indictment on any government, because a government that is working for its people want to put the people to work. It wants productivity to increase. It wants per unit cost to drop. It wants salaries to increase. It wants to make its people more independent. We have seen a government where the government sector has grown whilst the private sector has been limping. When we look at the private sector in Dominica, we can only identify, and I would say the national radio, the Asafans and the Nassifs, who have expanded, and you have seen some expansion from ISA. But our indigenous vendors, if you go around Roseau, and the people who have been in business for the last 20 years, they are stuck in the same position. Some of them have left the market because it no longer became viable for them to continue business. So in terms of economic enterprise, entrepreneurship, that has struggled in Dominica. The informal economy has struggled in Dominica. Exports, as I said, it's what are really exporting? Our brains. We have had intellectual export. We produce education for export. We export our sovereignty by selling citizenship, and we don't seem to think about the future. Again, that's a failure of this government, because most of us join the chorus that the CBI is a need. That is resource, that is revenue that we get to pay government fees and to do other things. That's great, but we don't think of the future. For every citizenship we sell, we are making somebody a Dominican citizen who becomes entitled to equal rights to each and every one of us, which means that if for some reason these citizens have to come to Dominica, imagine selling over 70,000 economic citizenships to date. We just need 500 to come here. These 500 are super wealthy. They'll buy off Roseau, and then what happens? So from that point of view, this government has failed. In the area of agriculture, where one would have thought the government would have provided more focus, we have seen a major failure. Not only productivity in agriculture may have dropped, but the type of agriculture that we have done is not one that is very healthy and sustainable. We seem to have had an increase in cancers, which may very well be related to the use of chemicals in certain areas. There were days in previous administration where you had field extension officers going on the ground, helping the farmers. We don't get that anymore. What we have is a corrupt system where people are being employed based on political affiliation and less on meritocracy. So from that point of view, we have not seen an improvement. In the area of tourism, we have seen an improvement in the numbers, but the overnight visitors, we have not necessarily seen an increase unless and until it's seasonal periods. So for example, during World Creole Music Festival, we have people coming in, but generally throughout the year, most of the hotels, they are operating under full capacity. We know the story of a Continental Hotel, a beautiful hotel, but it has not operated on a profitable margin. So in the area of the renewable energy, use of energy, still left to see whether geothermal is really going to bring any meaningful benefit to the people of Dominica.
I'm being told it may be commissioned this year.
Right. So I want to give these two gentlemen the opportunity to speak to the economy. But as I said, I'm giving this government a D for the management of the economy. Too many people are unemployed. Too many people are underemployed. And one of the biggest indictments on this government is that it has not made its people more independent. And cash, generally people are cash strapped. Most people, it's really a shame that a man in his 60s does not have $5,000 saved at any financial institution in Dominica. It's really a shame that public servants are retired and they have to go back to work and living from hands to mouth. It's really a shame that ordinary Dominicans cannot take a little trip to St. Lucia. It's a shame that people have to use their gratuity to pay off the balance of their mortgage, and at the end of the day, they have nothing saved. So Having said that, I will allow the two other gentlemen to continue because I can just keep going on and on and on.
Of course, the handling of the economy, Mr. Bernardito.
Yes. We always have to ask ourselves, what is the point of all of this activity that we do as human beings, right? And the point of what we do is to live a higher quality of life, to have more freedom in terms of economic freedom, the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it, independently of the whim of other people, the ability to live without fear, the ability to live in safety, the ability to take care of your children, to explore your passions, your interests independently and freely. That is what the good life is. That is what quality of life is. And so we always have to judge the economic performance of on that criteria, because you can certainly have economic growth without that occurring. You can certainly have people pouring money into the economy and benefiting 1% of the population without adequate economic distribution. And you can look at economic growth. You can certainly build many projects and mega projects that drive construction and shows in the numbers economic growth of 4.5%, 5%, whatever. But these are merely numbers that obscure the fact that the lives of the Dominican people are not improving. And so that is the key criteria. Has this government done anything where a Dominican can look at it and say, my quality of life has gone up? It's very, very can be misleading to just look at the economic data per se, growth rates, GDPs, and all of those things. Some useful indicators, but you have to look deeper and examine it from this Samantha Sen sort of view. Has my freedom as a human being increased? Has my ability to live the good life increased? Has my ability to have less stress in life increased? And I think a resounding no would be answered for every Dominican. So that's the criteria we have to look at the economy under. And I would say under that criteria, there's no way I would give this government even a D. They have failed completely. People are more stressed, more depressed, have less opportunities, are fleeing the shores in greater numbers. I struggle to find one initiative that this government has done to increase the productive capacity of its people. Because it's only by increasing the productive capacity of each individual you can increase output indigenously. And indigenous growth, indigenous output, labor productivity increases is how you grow an economy, how you create wealth. Ideas, innovation, that is how you create wealth. That is how you add wealth to the global value chain and extract a portion from it. That's the only way. But when you rely on just selling passports, getting some cash in to pay the bills, how have you invested and created productive capacity? How have you transformed your economy? Because at the end of the day, development means a transformation of your economy. If your economy keeps doing the same thing it has always done forever, without any transformation to higher end processes, any transformation to higher service sectors, to higher grids, you move up the value chain of value added, then you have not really developed your economy. And so this is very, very clear that the economic development, in the fundamental term of what development means, has not occurred in Dominica, and this government appears to have no clue as to how to do it, no clue whatsoever. Any activities that they do, the rationale of it is to win votes. So if I build a hotel there, if I add some NEP jobs here, and so forth and so on, if I build a few apartments, I can win votes for it. But from an economic development, economic engine creation, no, this government has done nothing to do that. And the few things that it does that is disguised as that, as I said, are in fact political strategies, not economic strategies.
Dr. Thompson Fontaine.
Yes, Matt. So the way I look at it, and I would like to do it in the form of a question posed to our listeners, and I want to ask them this: are you better off economically today than you were at the start of the year? And that's a question I'm posing to every single Dominican. Look at your circumstance economically. Are you better off today than you were at the start of this year? And I think the resounding answer will be no from the average person. Secondly, I would like to ask them, do you feel that you can purchase anything that you want? I mean, do you feel that you can just go to the shop and get what you want? Does your income permit you to do that? Purchase what you want, pay your school fees on time, pay your rent on time, take care of your life, of your thing. And I think the answer to that will also be no. So that tells me that the government has failed in its major responsibility to the people of Dominica. Because at the end of the day, what you want to do as a government is that you want to be able to direct. Government is about putting policies in place that directs the level of economic activity so that people can respond in the affirmative. So you want to, for example, have policies in place that encourages the private sector, encourage the private sector to come in, invest in the country, open up new factories, create new opportunities. You want to be able to have policies that control the minimum wage, that people are able to do this and so on. So these are some of the things that the policy action that I have not seen the government taking, or if they have taken it, it has been half steps. I talked about one earlier where the minimum wage just does not catch up, only catches up with where people are today, where it should be going ahead. All right. Are we generating that level of economic activity in the country? And the question or the answer is no. You know, when you look around Roseau, you see how terrible it is. And it's even worse in the villages. You go to the villages in Dominica, and I keep saying our villages, they're dying on the vine, literally dying on the vine, in the sense that lack of economic activity. A few rum shops are doing well. A few rum shops are, and it's just because people are literally drowning their woes and their sorrows away. And that is not good enough. So I think the answer to your question is the government has failed as far as to deliver on the economy for Dominica. And I'll tell you the reason for that failure. Part of the reason is that a failure on the part of the government to understand how to run an economy. That's a government, mark you, that has had the most resources than any other government in the history of this country. We're talking about literally access to billions of dollars, and they have wasted it. I call that the kind of Buga syndrome. I don't know if you remember Buga.
Buga, yeah.
You
Buga
remember
used to
Buga, right?
Buga was very rich.
So you fall into money unexpectedly, and at the end of the day, you don't use it wisely, and you end up even worse than you were before. And I think that's what happened.
As a matter of fact, you used to sleep in my father's boathouse.
Can you imagine, for a man who had untold wealth? So that is the same thing for this government. They have not been able to use the resources that they had access to wisely. A lot of it is because of the corrupt practices and their attitude towards the Dominican public. Just don't care attitude. Satisfied to give a little crumbs, a little apartment there, a little $300 over there. Keep quiet. Just enough so people don't talk too much. But they have clearly failed, and after 25 years, it's becoming increasingly more burdensome. It's becoming harder and harder. Nukagwai, Mundomnika Gwai, mem.
Well, let's take a break. We'll come back, Dominica, to talk about your plans for the future when we come back, okay? Taking a break.
Unwrap the magic of Christmas with Beep. Buy $15 in any Beep product for your chance to win a $1,500 Do It Center shopping spree. To enter, just write your name and contact number on the back of your receipt and drop it in entry boxes provided, or WhatsApp a photo of your receipt and contact number to 616-8810. But hurry, entries close on December 19th. Unwrap the magic of Christmas with Beep for a happy, healthy home. Distributed by Fine Foods Inc.
If you know quality, then
Just a note there that the NCCU wishes to advise that all NCCU Southeast and Northeast locations will remain open until 2 p.m. That's the next minute, due to earlier technical service interruptions. Members are asked to bring a valid ID to facilitate all transactions, including withdrawals. The La Salette and St. Paul's branches remain closed. The Roseau branch will remain open until 1 p.m. Of course, yes, that was from the NCCU notice there.
If you know your favorite store, dial it now. 612 free. That's Mega. You can rely on Mega for some real deals on name brand clothing and electronics. High quality, low price. We are a wholesale and retail store located in Calabishi, right on the main road. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram at Mega Deals Dominica. Like our page. Check out our stuff. Call us, visit us. Would appreciate that. Come try it on. Love it. Buy it. Mega Deals. Your one and only online and brick and mortar store. Mega Deals is also on wheels. We make it convenient for your shopping. We deliver straight to your door. Email us at info@megadealsda.com. Rely on Mega Deals for some real deals.
Dominicans, enjoy your property, protect your property. You homeowner and businessman, protect your property, enjoy your property. Can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till you flood again, can't wait till you fly out and all your business coming out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season and insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseau. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and get insured today.
All you, I just meet Goldwyn in Roseau again. Same place outside Flossies. I tried to dock in, but you had time see me. Where? Story start again. Million, lot of my father with us, huh? Saga fella. I said the same thing you doing, shopping at Flossies. And you don't have to tell me the same thing you tell me last time because I'm busy. It's to hear him with. You reckon? About my pocket, boy. I won't tell you that I save money in food and drinks when I buy quantity. I save more. Oh, shucks, man. Well, when you're still telling me, I know already. To pack a respect him, why? When I get him up pepper palais, I will tell all my friends from London, US and Dominica to come to Floss's, right next to the Rosa Market. Open Sunday to Saturday. Floss's can't do it to you.
Hardware and home improvement, building supplies for you, kitchen appliances, even home decor too. Lumber, lawn, all your garden supplies, plumbing, welding, electrical supplies.
Visit Do It Center at the former Jane Asset Hardware location on Goodwill Road. Call us at 255-6890. Center.
If you know quality, then you must know the manufacturers of Dominica's finest rums. Belfast Estate Limited, over 80 years leading the industry with exceptional standards and formidable customer service. We present the manufacturers of BB Rum, Soca Rum, Red Cap Rum, Cask Rum, and the signature Belfast Estate Rum Punch. With island-wide distribution daily, Belfast Estate Limited has cemented its mark as the distributor of choice for products like Eldorado range of rums and creams, Kubali Bear, Corona Bear, Guinness, Root Boy Drink, and of course, Sunblast Juices, Thomas Snacks, Vitamalt, and Pine Hill Juices. Call the office at 440-7032 or visit the distribution outlet at Jimmy Dominica. Follow on Facebook or Instagram at Belfast Estate. Belfast Estate Limited, your leading manufacturer and distributor of rums in Dominica.
I see Goldwyn shopping for farming supplies.
All right, Dominica, we're back here. This is the Talk on the Block. I'm going to ask you this question this afternoon there because I've been speaking a lot to Dominica's foreign policy. I'm getting from some persons who understand foreign policy. We see CARICOM falling apart. And with this ongoing current crisis hitting Venezuela, we see Trinidad adopting a particular stance, supporting the U.S. And there's no secret. He's saying that the rest of CARICOM is showing a posture in terms of supporting Venezuela. And she is not, because she's concerned about the security of her nationals. So her support, of course, she's got a lot of flack for that, is with the U.S. government. So hence, she's throwing her support behind that. What would be, Thompson Fountain, do you think we should adopt a similar posture as it relates to CARICOM or the U.S., supporting the U.S. against Venezuela?
Maxwell, based on the recent pronouncements from the president of Dominica and also from our prime minister, I think it is safe to say that we've thrown our support behind Venezuela. And, well, some may claim for historical reasons, the ALBA agreement and all the rest of it. So we have taken sides. With regards to Kamala Prasad, I believe that any prime minister in Trinidad and Tobago would adopt the same posture, because bear in mind they've been threatened by Venezuela. So if somebody's coming, if the enemy of your enemy becomes your friend automatically, I mean, I can understand that. She feels that she has that safety in terms of being able to protect the integrity of Trinidad and Tobago by having the support of the US. So I would not necessarily blame her for that. I believe CARICOM could have been more forthcoming. I think that the situation warranted an emergency meeting of the CARICOM leaders to discuss the issue. But what seems to be playing out is a very strange type of dynamic within CARICOM. We saw it, for example, when the Prime Minister of St. Lucia was being inaugurated. It seems to me that they're playing this very partisan party game and not rising to the statesmanship that is called for. And so you have a lot of this petty type of operations within the governments, and that is lending itself to that. So what we're seeing in CARICOM is really, if you like, the contradiction that continues to exist between the leaders. The Caribbean leaders simply don't trust each other on that level. So the labor courts, Mia, Skerritt, Gaston, Gonzalez, they trust each other, their labor, and it seems to me that is what defines them. So it's almost like
is that a good message for CARICOM?
No,
the rest of CARICOM?
It's terrible. It's terrible because CARICOM should be dealing at that level, at the heads of state level, irrespective of who is there. There should be that kind of camaraderie. There should be that kind of understanding amongst the leaders, but it is not there. So what we find is that leaders take sides depending upon who they like, and that is not good enough. So I don't think within CARICOM there has been enough discussion about the issue. There has been a lot of finger pointing. There has been a lot of exchanges across the various islands, and that is not good for CARICOM. And at the end of the day, as you rightly said, CARICOM is in jeopardy.
It is, but of
it's
course,
very much so.
But that is, Thompson, Venezuela, somebody would say, has been our friend for many years. Why do we want to turn our back on them?
Well, and so too has the U.S. The U.S. has been a friend of Dominica for many years. We estimated a few years ago about 150,000 Dominicans living in the United States. So we have the majority, most of the money coming into Dominica right now, in the absence of exports, to show up our own currency, comes from Dominicans living and working in the United States. There's no question about it. So if you have to look for value, one could argue that the United States has offered a lot more to Dominicans than, say, Venezuela or China or any of those countries. So you have a similar
stand as it relates to the U.S. To Trinidad. adopting Trinidad stance if you were the prime minister?
Yeah, for the prime minister, Trinidad, yeah, absolutely. Because, like I said, Venezuela made the first move. Venezuela actually threatened not only Trinidad, they also threatened Guyana up to the Essequibo. 2/3 of the country of Guyana they claim as theirs. Even did a referendum. And I believe that the only reason why they have now cooled down a little bit is because of the intervention of the United States. So I don't blame Kamala for that. I think the Caribbean region could have done a better job. CARICOM could have done a better job in terms of responding to the crisis, because that's what it is. It is, in fact, a crisis.
But you would say, and I would agree with you, that they're remaining very quiet.
Yes, and
they're walking on needles. Right?
Yeah, because in a way, it's a very dicey situation, because depending on which side you take, then there could be repercussions for it. So I guess countries are aware of that. But it looks like, I must say, our president was rather brave to boldly call the U.S. out and to actually do that.
You think
in
it was
that she did.
A diplomatic mistake there?
I think so. I don't believe that the president, given the role of the president, that the president should be weighing in actively on political issues. That is clearly a political matter. And it is not in the purview of the president to do so. I think she erred in that sense. If the question is posed to her, she has to deflect the question to the prime minister or to the foreign minister of the country. She's not in a position as the president of Dominican, given her role under the constitution. She's not in a position to respond the way that she did.
Mr. Ito, what were your stance as it relates to supporting the U.S. Versus Venezuela?
Well, I like to think about the total geopolitical context in those things. I am a proud Caribbean person. I'm a proud Afrocentric person, and I believe philosophically it is not in the right approach to allow or to encourage even more powerful states like the United States to dominate and to bully brown and black nations. So from that, and I think that should be a stance that we all as Caribbean people embrace, that we actually do support a zone of peace, but not just a zone of peace, a zone of our own civilizational influences. And so to allow the United States to run roughshod over our sovereignty, over our territorial waters, even in the stated mission of attacking or containing the Venezuela, that we should do a very careful way, where that's a slippery slope. Once you allow and encourage and sort of under the table wink at the United States to do those things, who next and who should be next. So the next time that the United States or some other major power decides that, well, I don't like what's going on in Grenada, their policies are too XYZ, then they have a green light to come into the region and to enforce their policies. And so I would not encourage, and I do not encourage that sort of approach that says that the CARICOM region is America's backyard to do as it wants with the wink of the people who are in charge at the moment. We have to develop a Caribbean viewpoint, a Caribbean civilization, and demand that we remain a sovereign nation area.
Well, you'd understand that we are the small fish.
We are the small fish, but it's even more important. Small fishes have to wear their badge of sovereignty as a shield. Big fishes can use sovereignty as a sword. They can attack, they can dictate terms, they can make things happen. But small fishes have to insist on the appeal to international standards, appeal to international courts, appeal to the goodness of the people in those powerful countries that said, yes, these people have a right to self-determination.
But coming to your point though, as a result of what I think I'm hearing from you, you would understand there would be repercussions.
Well, you have to do it diplomatically.
Like we're saying now.
Well, yeah, but those repercussions that are coming here is a direct result of the CBI program. I do not believe they are directly related to the stance necessarily until now that the president has stepped in it, right? That could have been kept as a separate issue. The message should have been, listen, we understand and we want to reduce drugs in the Caribbean. We do not believe the strategy is to kill people wantonly on the seas without trial and without due process of law. We support that, but we insist that our region and our area is in our sovereign interest and our destiny to determine our lives as Caribbean nationals, as Caribbean civilization. We have to insist on that. The moment you start letting that go, you are weakening the shield of sovereignty. You're weakening the shield of good intentions, international law. These are the things that protect weaker states. And so we are weakened when we do not adhere to those principles, not when we say, okay, well, let's side with the big bully so that we can do those things. We have to do those things with the right principles. Only principles protect us as small nations.
All right, let's
Insist in the international community adhere to good principles.
let me hear
That's the
Joshua
only thing
Francis.
that protects us.
Let me hear Joshua. Very, very interesting. We need to use this microphone, yes, please. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Pelte.
Very interesting.
Yeah, foreign policy is a part of governance that requires the sharpest minds. And as a responsible leader, I would seek counsel from personnel who are trained in foreign relations. A matter of fact, I think that Dominica should have had a Foreign Relations Act, which is a piece of legislation to guide the government on how to formulate policies on a foreign or international front and how to execute those. The current situation requires, when I say current situation, that is concerning Venezuela, the US. You have to look at it from a multi-sectoral point of view. Economic, social, political. You heard when I talk about geopolitics, etc. Because what's happening here between Venezuela and the US has a wider tenet. You're looking at Russia, you're looking at China. So this is a really huge and complex international situation that's unfolding in the region. What I can say at this hour is I do adhere to the policy of CARICOM, where the region has been declared as a peace zone. All right. The CARICOM recognizes that every country, including Dominica, has its sovereign rights, and every leader for every country has a right to look at its own national interests. So in respect to Trinidad, before she took a CARICOM position, she had to take a position which she considers would be in the best interest of her nation. And there's nothing wrong in that. Absolutely nothing wrong in that. Of course, there are times when national interests may diverge or even contradict original interest. So I am saying in that current situation, we require very meticulous distillation of the situation. And of course, as I said, I started by saying to get the expertise, to get the men who understand international relations, because any utterance or any decision concerning what's happening in Venezuela and the US may have ramifications for us. When you contextualize what's happening right now, where Dominica has been placed on a visa ban for the next 90 days, then one would even be more cautious in making certain remarks, knowing that the statements may have ramifications as to whether we will be removed from the bans list or not. And of course, making those utterances would also be saying to the United States where we stand. So let me just sum up by saying that where I stand right now, I probably would take a position of neutrality. And I see certain leaders are doing that. Look at the Prime Minister of Barbados. Have you heard her say anything?
Me, no.
Silence can sometimes be taken as acquiescence, but we don't know for sure where she stands. And I think that's a wise move. She's not saying anything about the Americans, not saying anything about Venezuela, not saying anything about Russia or China. And Barbados, of course, has close ties with all of the above, particularly the US and China. So one has to tread cautiously. And I have been weighing, I've been looking, I've been talking to the experts. I get different views, and I am not prepared to say that Dominica should take one side or the other side. Keep in mind, Matt, we're just a little dot. We don't really have a stake.
So you're saying we have to
be on the global
we have to be
stage.
very careful.
We have to be very careful. This is just a small island, less than 70,000 people currently living on the island. This is an island that suffers with a lot of external economic shocks, a country which has proven to be very difficult to develop for several reasons, environmental reasons, given that Dominica is vulnerable to natural disasters. We have had two major disasters over the past 10 years, and we are just trying to build ourselves, and we need foreign assistance for us to build. And it's not just grants. We need to attract foreign investors. We need to create a Dominica that is respected, not a Dominica that is bold to take sides to the point where it comes across like, okay, we don't need you, we need that one.
But Thompson is making the point there earlier. He said we are in terms of what we benefit, we tend to we stand to benefit more from America than we are from Venezuela. So why are we playing both sides, if you will?
Well, but Matt, that's debatable. From a historical point of view, we have benefited significantly from the United States. We continue to benefit in the area of the barrel economy. The diaspora based in the U.S. contribute heavily to Dominica. That's a fact. Right now, I don't have the actual quantity in terms of...
I want you to stick to that point there, because we have a call on the line. Are you there, caller, please?
Gentlemen, blessings to you all.
Blessings.
Dr. Fountain, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Bless.
Honorable Joshua Francis.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Ito, blessings to you all.
Yes, thank you.
Is that a glimpse or the beginning of the transitional amalgamation? I am asking, Dr. Fountain, I leave in that for another time. I just throw that in, do not say nothing about that. I just throw that in, because we need a unified force moving forward. Gentlemen, Matt, you remember the fella used to say, why Caribbean leaders are not talking?
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I did not go where they call that in that institutional form of learning. My learning is eclectic. It is knowledge from various sources, Matt. Matt, I would have never made the mistake the president made, and the mistake, whoever released that, if it's scary or the Chinese, Matt, that is suicidal. Matt, there is a saying, never burn the bridges you cross. Very, very interesting. They say, oh, new brooms sweep clean, but old brooms know the corner and all of that. Matt, that kind of thing, all of a sudden, America think it bad. And I say, but I am right. Matt, the police come at my home, he caught in my mattress and caught in my food. Oh, I am right. And I end up dead. Because guess what? I get aggressive. No, it's about I take my phone and I start to record. You know? And I'll say, my brother, please, what are you doing? Is that a joke? So you could go to, you say, America, we have great concern. Just send somebody, or if you have to talk publicly, but that has to be so well sorted out. You say you have Fountain to give a grade, not Fountain Josh. And what he said, Matt, he would have to make a proper assessment analysis before he can give a grade. You hear that much earlier on?
Yeah.
So, Matt, you go, you assess the whole situation. You get some great minds like our former ambassador or the great minds we have, even in the region. What would be the best approach to that kind of, formidable opponent, or, that kind of complicated situation? Before you open your mouth, but you have to talk at the point. Now look at what the woman went to do in China. Matt, that was so much of a suicidal mission. Just America, please. I mean, we understand your policies and where we are. You have helped us. We do not want to turn our backs on you because we need you. Matt, when you said if you flatter me, Matt, you know that word? You flatter me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you have to even flatter the person. You do not want to play with a country that can hurt you in a million ways. You have to be extremely diplomatic. So you can cry sovereignty. This is the New World Order. The reality is we're in a new world order. It's the old world disorder. They have always done things like that. But Matt, you have to understand might is right. Look at what's carried Mia Motley, Gaston Brown, What is name? Ralph Gonzalez. Look at what they're doing to the opposition in the region. With all the gun trafficking, human trafficking, money laundering, corruption in government, where is the zone of peace? Dominica have what, 25 murders, Matt, for this year?
24.
20, and you're telling me about a zone of peace. Where is the peace? I am just saying soberly, in conclusion, my beloved brother, that was a suicidal move. I mean not to rain on Mr. Ito Puerrig, my beloved brother. I am just saying sovereignty does not cut it in this world of today. You're not picking Peter over Paul. You know the road, the line in the road that's separating the two lanes, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
That asked a fella, what does that? He said it's for pedestrians to walk. Another fella says for bicycle. It's for discretion, Matt. No traffic there. You be very careful when you're going up, you're going up. When you're going down, you're going down. Do not go and try to cross paths and cause yourself generational pain. Be careful. The woman talk about China and Taiwan getting involved in America and China and Taiwan. My brother, when you have them kind of loose cannons there, you have to keep them on a very short leash. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Matt, CARICOM should take priority over Venezuela, not Alba. We should have been in Alba in the first place. We should not have been in Alba in the first place. We should follow the example of the MDC in CARICOM. 449-3095-9697. More telephone calls. They're coming in there by the numbers. Are you there, caller? Yes.
Good afternoon, Matt. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon,
to your
yes.
panel. Matt, when you are in a situation where two sharks are about to fight and you are a TTW, I'm using this graphic or analogy, call it what you want, to show that you have to forget everything, because when you are a human being on a small nation, your ego can be as big as Donald Trump's, but you have to put that aside. This is survival. You can only not get between those two sharks. You cannot side with one of the sharks because the other one might destroy you. What the TTW does is goes up the river. And the TTW has the ability to climb waterfalls, Matt. So when he climbs that waterfall with his sucker, no shark can reach there. And that is what the TTW should be doing. That is a practical advice to the TTW. Stay away from the shark business because you will get beaten.
Okay, caller. I want to go back to the question I asked Mr. Joshua earlier, Mr. Francis. I'll allow you, but somebody's saying we were talking to Joshua a while ago. He was making some points. Would you be able to take a side, Joshua? Given what we're facing this time, would you take a side in terms of Venezuela versus the U.S.? Now, if you take a survey of Dominica, what side do you think Dominicans would go for?
Well, first of all, Matt, I stand not by people first. I stand by justice, fairness, righteousness, soundness, reasonableness.
All right.
I stand by that. And of course, in geopolitics, sometimes even where you stand by principles, you may not have to bend, but you have to be tactful. In every aspect of life, one has to be wise. And in leadership, wisdom is a great necessity. And when it comes to geopolitics, especially a small country like ours, we have to maneuver very carefully, because what we do not want is to take a side that in the short term may appear to benefit the nation, but in the long term, it could be very detrimental to the nation. In view of Venezuela and the United States, we have to look at this not only from an immediate point of view, we have to look at it from a historical point of view. What kind of relationship have we had with the United States versus what we have had with Venezuela? How Dominica has benefited? How is Dominica going to benefit moving forward? Is it even necessary to take a side? I don't think it's necessary to take a side in terms of condemning one versus the other. What I think is necessary is to contextualize the situation, analyze it well, distill the realities, and at the end of it, stand for what is right. First of all, what is happening in Venezuela is not just about narco-terrorism. We're looking at a regime where the people of Venezuela rejected the regime. but the leader of Venezuela imposed himself on the people, and we must not forget that. And if we stand for people, especially ordinary people, we have to take that into consideration. No, I'm not saying that the United States is justified or unjustified in what it's doing, using the pretext of narco-terrorism as the reason why they are putting Venezuela under pressure. They may have underlying reasons, they may have ulterior motives, but I want the nation to take into consideration the history of what is happening and to look at where America has been with Dominica, the CARICOM, where we are going. As we speak, the Americans are currently providing assistance to Dominica in fighting drugs on the waters. So we have many Dominicans in the United States. We have more Dominicans in the
So
United States than Venezuela.
Coming to your point, don't you think that we have enough reason to say, as some people are suggesting, to support the U.S. more than we do Venezuela?
Yeah, but Matt, again, just nominally or just from the face of it, I may say yes, but we are looking at something that is deeper. As I said, we are looking at geopolitics, we are looking at foreign policy, and I am not prepared to say, without taking further counsel on the matter, as to whether we should condemn Venezuela and to stand by the US. I have spoken to one or two diplomats, and even those diplomats are still trying to figure out what Dominica should be saying, where Dominica should act and not act, because sometimes you have to let things play out before you take a position. It's not everything that you hastily speak about. And I said to you, Matt, earlier, and I'm saying to Dominica, we have not heard certain CARICOM leaders. And those CARICOM leaders are known to be outspoken. Look at Mia Motley, Honorable Mia Motley in Barbados has postured herself not only as a good leader for Barbados in the eyes of many, but she's now perceived as a Caribbean leader, and she has not said anything. Don't you think that's deliberate and calculated?
You want to make a point, Ito, and you said you want to clarify something.
Yes, I wanted to clarify a little thing. I don't think when I said that we have to stand on the principles of sovereignty, I am not making any statement that we are going to be pounding our chest and beating our breast. We have to be very calculated about this and very clear that, in fact, we are not supporting any side. I don't think there is, in my opinion, there's no way. I think it's a little bit too simple to support a side. In fact, I think if any country comes out supporting a side, they're simplistic in their geopolitics and their analysis. What I'm saying is we need to establish the principle so that we can appeal to other international areas, the Europeans and other countries, that says, in principle, a country should have control of its own destiny and it should not be bullied and pushed around based on the geopolitical priorities of other nations. That is what we should stand on. And so we have to be cautious in our statements, but we have to say, in some way, it is not right for the United States to wantonly kill citizens without trial or any sort of criminal proceedings in our waters. We have to say that. We have to say that even though Venezuela, in some form, is an abusive state, that the using the pretext of narco, and I wouldn't say it's a narco terrorism. That's a made up term for specific reasons. that is an attack on drugs. That is not correct. And there are people in the United States government that recognize that the actions of the United States government is illegal and not based on facts and not based on.
Let me ask you the question. What's your position on the recent stance by our president speaking to Chinese television as it relates to supporting Venezuela?
That is a big mistake. And as my colleagues rightly said, that was not the role of a president and should not be done. As I said, we should not be taking sides, and certainly not be taking sides in such a public manner and doing this thing. This is a major misstep and a major miscalculation of geopolitics. But I do think we have to be very nuanced in our approach and not let our politics, right, our political affiliations cloud the issue to say, well, it's scary and these people and therefore Venezuela, we shouldn't be. There is a larger question, and we shouldn't let our small politics cloud that.
On the telephone, are you there? Many calls coming in. Yes, quickly, please.
Yes, Matt.
Yeah.
Good afternoon to you and your guests.
Good afternoon to you.
I tuned into the program a little late, but every time I hear this terminology that America is a bully, it pisses me off. A lot of our people who did something constructive because we could not do it in our country. The opportunities and whatnot is not there. We run to America. The same bully. America is a bully, but you come and make your children here in America to be American citizens. So what happened? You're encouraging the bully? If somebody is a bully or somewhere is a bully, what you do, you stay away from it. Whatever is going on. Our own leaders in government at home, they bully us. If you don't support them, you should not eat. Stay hungry. Isn't that bullying? I am not in agreement. I don't like war, but you know, my husband was an ex-soldier, so it's something that happens all the time. Is it a good thing? No, because sometimes innocent people lose their lives. I came to America. Whatever I work for in America, I did not invest it in America. I invested in my country because I want to come back home. I have a mortgage to pay, and for years, there is a ban on me from MoneyGram. When I called MoneyGram to find out what was the reason, they said Dominica was on a blacklist. And not for hell I can get to do a transaction to pay my mortgage. America is a bully. Go to other countries that don't bully you. When you sick, don't come to F here. Go someplace else where you will not be bullied. But before anything, they retire, they want to run to America. They're sick, they run to America. They want to do shopping, they run to America. But yet you're calling us a bully. I'm a Dominican by birth. I'm a U.S. citizen by naturalization. So I stand on both sides. I love my country. And I would like to ask Dr. Fountain, what is in place for as they call us? I was born and raised in Castlebrooke. That's where my navel string varies. But since you come away and whatnot, they call you a diaspora. What is in place for the diasporas when we decide that we would like to come back home? Number one, healthcare is a big mess. I would give it a 0. Period. No if or no but. I'm not biting my tongue about that. And, you know, everybody have their opinion, but I would like to ask all the Dominicans that call America bully. And before anything, that's the first place we run for rescue. Look at how the Labour Party Prime Minister in Jamaica, look at how they treat their people. They bring in foreigners, give them their job. If you're a local and you don't support them, you don't get any work. But you call America a bully gimmick.
All right, caller, thank you. Mr. Francis is very well spoken, and is correct in saying he cannot pick sides without doing the necessary research and analysis of the situation. We don't need to pick a side. We should just stay low at this time, like Mia is doing in CARICOM. 4930. Come back to you, Thompson, in terms of, you know, what do you have planned for the diaspora in the near future? We're talking. Hello, talk to me on the telephone. Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon to you.
Point,
Yeah,
Matt, is
please.
that among us we can say what we want, but when it comes to the voice of the government, that is a completely different story. And as has been said, it's a complicated matter, a very complicated matter. And that American citizen that just spoke, she didn't mention how difficult it will be to deal with Donald Trump, the mind of Donald Trump. This is an unpredictable character, very unpredictable, very narcissistic. He's a difficult man to deal with. The whole world knows that. So that further complicates the problem, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. 44930. Somebody says, Matt, your guests are not informed. Mia Motley made very clear that what the position in regarding American policy is when she spoke in October. Research it. 449309596. And I don't think she has ever spoken after that, though. 4493095. I don't think that was a position then as it relates to the U.S. But we will do a little research as you suggested and continue.
Mia is an Afrocentrist.
What?
Mia is an Afrocentrist. You can be assured that in her private thoughts, she is definitely for Caribbean civilization and autonomy.
All right. If you say that. Hello, talk to me on the telephone. Yes?
Yes, good afternoon, so much.
Yes, please.
This thing about the diasporas, them always calling in and ask what is in place for them. Well, what about we that are down here suffering now? Something what you going to do for we the sufferers down here? Tell me what you're going to do. because you see what we're going through. You see what we're going through. Them alone are want duty free and everything for free, while they are making all that big money, and we don't hear suffering. So I want to hear, Thompson, what you're going to do for the locals that's in all the misery in Dominica.
All right, somebody's asking. Then come the question of whether we want democracy or we want a government control system that is no different from imperialism. That is the question that we need to ask somebody. Saying 449-3095, 96 and 97. Dr. Thompson Fountain, what are your plans going forward? A lot of thoughts here.
Yes,
circulated
Matt,
here.
you know, and our callers are animated, obviously, and but let me just say, it should not be them against us, all right? It should not be diasporans against locals. In the plan that we have for the future of this country, we have a prominent role for both the local Dominican and the diaspora Dominicans. Because at the end of the day, we always believe that it is Dominica first. You are Dominican first and foremost. Before you can consider yourself to be an American, you're a Dominican. Before you can consider yourself to be a local, you're a Dominican. All right. So Dominica first. We, as part of our plan, Matt, is to encourage the diasporans to come back to Dominica. That would have to involve certainly improving on the healthcare system here in Dominica. That has to be a number one priority. Well, not only for the diasporans, obviously, but also for us. We deserve a better level of care here in Dominica. That is one of our 10 pillars to shared prosperity. The whole question of putting resources into the health sector, ensuring that you have a health system that people can trust. And also, Matt, we want diasporans to come back and work in Dominica. We want to be able to attract, firstly, to keep Dominicans who are in Dominica. We want to keep them with good paying jobs, but we also are planning to attract persons who are living across the Caribbean, in the United States and elsewhere. We want them to come back and build their country. There is a role, there is a place for every single Dominican to aid in this effort.
All right, Mr. Joshua Francis, what is your plans for the diaspora? Somebody suggesting that going forward, what are your plans for Dominica?
Well, we do have a
Same,
we do have a working plan for the diaspora. As we speak, the diaspora is welcome into the community of the United Progressive Party and the opposition. I believe the diaspora has vast expertise, knowledge, and skills which supposed to be used in Dominica. So I have this thinking that we are supposed to have a brain bank from the diaspora. Some of the brightest people from Dominica are in the diaspora, and they should be allowed to contribute to national development. I see no reason why the government of Dominica cannot use the resources of the diaspora. So, for example, we could have visiting surgeons. Once the hospital has the facilities, we could get specialist surgeons based in Canada, the US, Europe, wherever, to come at certain times of the year to perform certain surgeries. I'm just using this as an example because the diaspora has the resource to help us formulate policies and to execute those policies. So that's one. Number two, for those in the diaspora who wish to come to Dominica, we have to make Dominica better and safer. We have to make Dominica the place where people feel comfortable to come. Should they get sick, they do not have to hustle to go to Martinique or Guadeloupe. So healthcare is a big thing because right now, the Dominicans who are in the diaspora are Dominicans who sought greener pastures. Whether they got the greener pastures or not, but they are out there working, hoping that one day they can come back to Dominica. But the current Dominica is discouraging because they're not satisfied with the healthcare facilities and services. They're not satisfied with the infrastructure in as much as we are constructing an international airport. Look at our city. We can push a wheelchair in Roseau. Women have difficulties walking with heels. There are a lot of people in diaspora who carry themselves in a certain way. They want to dress a certain way. They want to walk a certain way. They want to dine a certain way. And when they look into Dominica and they realize that the lifestyle which they're enjoying in the United States, Canada, or wherever, that they would have to make significant sacrifices to come back here. So a new government definitely will create a Dominica that is safer, a Dominica that is more attractive, a Dominica that's more conducive for better living, a Dominica that will have better healthcare facilities, Dominica that will have recreational facilities. That's another thing. Because at the end of the day, you work hard. You want to go somewhere to enjoy yourself. What is there to do? So that is the kind of Dominica we want to do. A new Dominica with a new thinking. because the mindset of our people also is something that we have to keep working on. And that's a long-term project, of course. So we have to train our people so that they can provide good service, whether it's at the hospital, whether it's in the public service, whether at the banks. So we have to invest in that. All right. So these are just only a few things that I believe that we can do for the diaspora.
Well, let's listen to, of course, Mr. Ito on this one.
Yeah, Matt, I've been saying for many years, maybe over 20 years, maybe since I've left Dominica to first go and study, that what we need to do is to redefine how we think about Dominica.
Mhm.
What is the Dominican nation? And I think we have to realize that Dominican nation now does not and should not stop at our physical borders. That in fact the Dominican nation is spread across the world, and we need to redefine psychologically and even structurally what the Dominican nation is, because once you do that, Dominica becomes exponentially richer, have more human capital, has more potential, and we think about that expanded borderless nation with our headquarters here in Dominica in the Caribbean. We have to do that mental flip so that we start thinking about things this way, because there are as many Dominicans out there more that are left here. Once you do that mental flip, you will start to do things like develop database of expertise, do things like remote medicine, do things like investment, do things like developing technology packs based on the expertise and resources of certain networked Dominican to say, hey, we're all data scientists, we're into this thing, we work in high level industries and positions all over the globe. Let us set up a technology pack in Dominica based on our resources. We can monitor it remotely, we can visit, we can do those things, because I think it is unrealistic to expect that those folks in the diaspora are all going to come back here and be able to find a productive life. Because you have to understand, it is not just your individual skills that matter in an economy. It is how those skills can be leveraged and networked with other professionals and other complementary skills to give value to your skills. For example, I was a high-tech, high-valued semiconductor engineer designing microchips. When I returned to Dominica, those skills essentially go to zero, right? Because there's no infrastructure, no networking professionals, no capacity to utilize my skills. And so it is not just the individual skill, it's the ecosystem. And that is what we have to work on as a government, as to create this sort of information, the ecosystem that can support the sectors, the healthcare, all those ecosystem needs that allow then people who wish to come back to be able to plug into an ecosystem that works for them. Without that, you will simply have the same thing of people coming, getting fed up, not being able to make a living and leave. And so we have to be innovative, creative. We can't do the same thing we've been doing with diaspora policies. The same old thing like give them a few barrels free, the same thing like give them a little lower taxes. We have to completely rethink this. We have to re-innovate this. And as I said, the innovation is conceptualizing Dominica as an extended network nation across the globe with our global headquarters here in Dominica. Once you start doing that, you can put policies, practices, economic structures, and business plans together that catalyze that ecosystem we need on island so that more people can come here if they wish. But we don't necessarily all have to come here to remain and be part of the Dominican nation. And that's how we need to think about it.
Here's a very interesting question coming from the diaspora, or somebody from the diaspora. And that's for all you leaders here. Man, I'm asking this question anonymously. If a person from the diaspora is interested in being a candidate to either of the parties, are we welcome to return home? Or should a candidate only be those currently residing in Dominica? Are the parties okay with dual citizens being candidates in any election?
Oh well, I thought he was asking one question. The law is you can't be a dual citizen.
No, I'm
and
saying,
do
but
it.
would you change the law to?
Oh, that's what we should change it, because I was about to say I came in 2013. I came straight from overseas to come back into the politics, so it is possible. Now that is something that we have to look at. Is we need some reforms around our elections, and that should be one of them. I don't think it is right that you keep a person out simply because they have an allegiance, not an allegiance, but simply because they have a passport for another country. If that person is willing to come to the country, do the hard work, do the work, they should be able to do it.
Yeah, I share that same point of view. As is there are two questions. One is out of our hands, right? One is the law. You can't
But you,
run
you
for
can
election.
change the law.
But yes, I'm saying answering the question directly. I support Thompson in that. I believe and it supports my idea, which I was just explaining. If you're going to build a global network nation, you absolutely have to change that law because you want to bring in the best people, the best minds, the best executives, the best people who can run headquarters. And in order to do that, you have to do things like this. Because having a passport, which is an economic reality for many people who have left, doesn't in any way change their loyalty, their determination, and their contribution and their passion for the country. It's just a technicality. And so I absolutely believe that we have to modernize how we think. Now, of course, the current government and those who think like that would not want to do that because they do not want to expose themselves to better brains, better minds, better competition, and people who can come in and make a real contribution. They love to keep it provincial as possible and as confused as possible because in those situations they thrive. But I certainly support a more innovative approach to define ourselves.
And Matt, just quickly before Josh, I also wanted to add that's very, very important. A white person or a non-Dominican from the United Kingdom who was not born in Dominica can come here and contest in the election as a candidate without even holding a Dominican passport. So it seems to me that the holders of Dominican passports should be given that opportunity to take part in the elections.
Joshua, your take
It's
on
a
that one?
no-brainer.
The phone again. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Matt, as we speak, I welcome diasporans to call me, inbox me, to advise me, give me counsel and direction. I'm aware that there are very resourceful Dominicans.
The other people want to
all
come
over.
home
And
to contest election.
well, Matt, even from a political party's point of view, the Constitution of the United Progressive Party makes provision for diaspora representatives to formulate policies, to contribute towards the development of the party. And that, of course, would extend into government. Now, in respect to the question, one of the callers asked whether diasporans should be candidates. Currently, it depends on where that person is coming from. Because if the person is in a Commonwealth country, such as Barbados or Venezuela, and the person has a CARICOM passport, meaning a passport of one of the other CARICOM member countries or a passport from the UK, that person will not be disqualified to be a candidate at the next general election. I want to refresh the minds of Dominicans. Remember, we had this famous case with the Prime Minister of Dominica on the question of whether he was qualified to be a candidate in the 1999 general election. At the time, it was alleged that the Prime Minister of Dominica had given allegiance to a foreign power, namely France, that he had a French passport. Now, had that been true, because of course we never got an opportunity to determine the truth or discover the truth in a court of law, because the law forbade the gentleman from appearing on a witness stand to answer questions whether he did or he did not have a French passport. Had he been allowed in the witness stand and the question would have been asked to him under oath, then Dominicans would see the truth. We were not allowed to see the truth. And we must always remember that when the Prime Minister was nominated to be a candidate in the Vacas constituency, he may have had a French passport. In principle, he would have been disqualified to be a candidate. That is where the famous statement, no law and no constitution will stop Roosevelt Skerrit from being nominated to be a candidate. We must always remember that, because in principle, he may have had the French passport. So I'm referring to section 32 of the Constitution of Dominica. Anybody who wishes to go online, look for Dominica laws, get the Constitution of Dominica and read section 32, 1A. It says, by virtue of his own act, well, no, let me just start up. Again, that is just for the enlightenment of the public. A person shall not be qualified to be elected or appointed as a representative or senator hereinafter in this section referred to as a member if A, is by virtue of his own act under any acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or allegiance to a foreign power or state. So currently, if there is someone who is in the US and he or she wishes to be a candidate at the next general election, he may not be qualified because the US is not considered to be a Commonwealth country. But if the person is in Australia and the person wishes to be a candidate, well, that person may be qualified to be a candidate at the next general election.
And let me ask some personal questions here. In terms of, any one of you can become the prime minister tomorrow, given, how Dominican think. Would you be, Joshua Francis, willing to live in the house at Mount Daniel, where the prime minister is renting for 64,000, or would you change that?
No, Matt. I would, first of all, I would find that to be a crime against Dominicans.
A crime.
A social crime, not a literal criminal crime. We have limited resources in this country. $64,000 a month can help many Dominicans. There are small entrepreneurs in Dominica. Yesterday, I visited a young lady who owns a business. And if she were to get a capital injection of 10,000 EC dollars as we speak, her business would be equipped to do better. I would take that $64,000 and touch 5 entrepreneurs, where the money would go into a productive sector to generate more money. I see no reason why a prime minister has to rent a property and to absorb $64,000 from the consolidated funds of Dominica.
Some people say he has to be comfortable.
But Matt, where I am, I'm comfortable. Should I become the prime minister tomorrow? Of course, there should be security detail because the prime minister needs security. Whether he's the most likable prime minister or not, there are always going to be dislikes. And some people, especially in the modern era, can be ridiculous. Therefore, security is a necessity. I, Joshua Francis, would have no difficulty staying at my home with security.
Would you accept all the security detail that he has right now?
Not all that is not necessary. First of all, I'm a simple person. I have no fear in me. I have not given any Dominican reason to attack me, and therefore I would feel comfortable walking amongst Dominicans. We have had predecessors, prime ministers who did that. When deceased Rosie Douglas was prime minister of Dominica, you would see him walking the streets in Roseau, sometimes without security detail. He would go around the country, get off the vehicle, have a jelly nut to drink, walk in somebody's kitchen. He did not have fear. He felt free in his country. And that is a Dominica I would like to see again, where a leader feels very comfortable to walk anywhere without fear or favor. This current prime minister doesn't feel safe for whatever reason. But to answer the question, Matt,
you will not be at Mount Daniel.
Matt, I cannot say I cannot be at Mount Daniel, but if $64,000 has to be the price, no, I would not be at Mount Daniel. It's not necessary. I believe that a prime minister should be a servant and not a master. A prime minister should be the most humble leader on the island, because at that position, basically, you're supposed to be giving your life to the country. Of course, you have your personal interests, you have your family to take care of. Where I stand as we speak, I'm giving service. If I want to be a wealthy person, I want to generate wealth, prime ministership certainly is not the path for me. The path that I am taking as a politician is to serve Dominica, to create more opportunities for young people, the jewel of the land, to provide a safer Dominica for the elderly, to provide a Dominica where people's dreams can be realized, to provide a Dominica where employment opportunities are available such that persons can decide, I do not want to work at that job, I prefer to work at another job, and based on meritocracy, be able to get a job. A Dominica that is safe, where you feel comfortable to walk on the beach, go into the hot springs without any fear. So I believe that this prime minister has abused state resources. He has enriched himself. And it's clear. I mean, somebody may say, why are you saying that about the prime minister? Well, we cannot always mix words. You have to call an apple. This gentleman, when he was a pal rep, just a pal rep, it is clear we know what he had. And when you hear the story of how he got involved in politics, making demands, a matter of fact, it's alleged when he was a candidate for the Dominican Labour Party, when he became a candidate, he made certain demands. He had to be given a car. He had to be given some money because there was a fight between whether he should be a Freedom Party candidate versus a Dominican Labour Party candidate. And he made his choice based on material expectation. It wasn't based on love or principles or ideology. And that is one of the things we're missing in politics right now. Even as we speak, the other leaders will tell you, in trying to get leaders to present themselves to be candidates, one of the first questions, what is in it for me? Joshua Francis, no, what is in it for him? Is service. And I know there are other Joshua Francises out there, and I'm looking for them. I hope they present themselves and we can make Dominica the place that it's supposed to be. Leaders not supposed to be out there looking, okay, I want a car, I want this, I want my mortgage should be paid. I mean, of course, you have to take care of your family. But when you enter politics with that kind of thinking, naturally, over time, you are going to continue to develop this material inclination, as we have seen. We have seen some politicians enrich themselves. It is clear for us to see. We see the kind of billions they have. We know that they have companies fronting, they're using other people to front companies and they're giving themselves work. I see so much blatant and obvious conflict of interest in Dominica, where you have certain ministers of government with billions in Roseau, and those billions are housing government departments. That is conflict of interest. We hear of ministers of government who own companies and they get bidding from the public service. That is conflict of interest.
Insider trading. Well, let's move to Mr. Bernard Ito, because time is of the essence. Would you go to Mount Daniel, Mr. Ito, if given the chance?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, I think we should even consider selling this property and reinvesting the property in some sort of project or a program or business venture to as the first order of business with the new government that comes in, to show Dominicans that we are serious about being servants of the people. We are serious of not being princes of the people. And a very symbolic gesture would be to get rid of this princely palace that was built to accommodate one person as the prime minister. I think we are all aligned here to be servant leaders. And I think all of us would have a major problem stepping into this unseemly exploitation of the Dominican public, and the fact that we actually it's accepted and this somehow he's getting away with this is absurd. But absolutely not. There would be no way I would do this. I'm comfortable living in my own place. With the appropriate security, or I think we should redevelop the Montbrush property into be a decent residence with the adequate security provided for the prime minister, and there should be a certain decorum about this. I think it is just unseemly that a poor nation or a nation that is trying to develop should be wasting those sort of resources on the prime minister and his family. This is pure third world tin cup dictatorship kind of vibes. That is not the kind of thing that you do if you want to have respect in the world. If you want to have respect in the world, you do not want nations looking over and saying, there is the prince looking down on his subjects from a position of spending $64,000 of the tax money on himself. What kind of impression are we giving about ourselves as a people, as a society? And so absolutely not, Matt. There would be no way I would possibly encourage that sort of signal that somehow I am this prince on this plantation and serving with the serf serving me. And that is the signal that is being given here with this position. And so it's not just a matter of the material situation. I think any new government has to give a very strong psychological signal that we are moving in a new direction, and making a change and doing away with this princely palace would be one of the good ways to do that.
Thompson Fontaine, I haven't heard you. Yes.
Josh and Bernard said no. I would say hell no. Under no circumstances. And I also think, Matt, that type of expense should never, ever in the future be visited on the taxpayers of Dominica. It is wrong, it is immoral, and it should never have been in the first place. In fact, I think the prime minister should possibly consider refunding the people of Dominica that kind of money that was spent on him over the past 7, 8 years. It is just it battles my conscience. It defeats every sense of service to the people, and on that basis alone, that should disqualify this prime minister. I mean, quite clearly that you would put yourself in such a position, knowing that people are getting $300 a month, Matt. That's all they have to live on. $300 a month. Let me divide 300 into 64,000. That is 20. That is how much? 20. Some 25. Okay, let's say 20,000. Oh no, 2,000. 2,000, right? That's 2,000 months you're talking about. How many years that is? Yeah. That would benefit more than a decade. That would benefit this individual. So it's something about this is just so wrong, so immoral about what this prime minister has done, and I don't understand it. I don't. It makes no sense to me, and I believe that the government of Dominica, again, I repeat, should be refunded, and secondly, that any future government should build modest. Go back to
Montbrush.
Go back to Montbrush. Build modest accommodation for the Prime Minister, and that it should be something that can be used by successive Prime Ministers to reduce the cost on the taxpayers of this country.
Let's take a break. We'll come back, Dominica. We're here. And of course, we just have about 25 more minutes. We have more questions. The telephones are coming in. Coming back.
Buy $15 in any Beep products for your chance to win a $1,500 Do It Center shopping spree. To enter, just write your name and contact number on the back of your receipt and drop it in entry boxes provided, or WhatsApp a photo of your receipt and contact number to 616-8810. But hurry, entries close on December 19th. Unwrap the magic of Christmas with Beep for a happy, healthy home. Distributed by Fine Foods Inc.
If you know your favorite store, dial it now. 612-1253. That's Mega. You can rely on Mega for some real deals on name brand clothing and electronics. High quality, low price. We are a wholesale and retail store located in Calabishi, right on the main road. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram at Mega Deals Dominica. Like our page. Check out our stuff. Call us. Visit us. Would appreciate that. Come try it on. Love it. Buy it. At Mega Deals. Your one and only online and brick and mortar store. Mega Deals is also on wheels. We make it convenient for your shopping. We deliver straight to your door. Email us at info@megadealsda.com. Rely on Mega Deals for some real deals.
Dominicans, insure your property, protect your property, you homeowner and businessman, protect your property, insure your property. Can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till you flood again, can't wait till your roof fly out and all your business coming out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season. Insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseau. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and get insured today.
All you, I just meet Goldwyn in Roseau again. Same place outside Flossie's. I tried to dock in, but you had time see me. Well, story start again. Million, lot of my power with Gaza. Saka fella, I said the same thing you doing, shopping at Flossie's, and you don't have to tell me the same thing you tell me last time because I busy. It's to hear him way. You reckon? About my pocket, boy. I won't tell you that I save money in food and drinks when I buy quantity. I save more. Oh, shucks, man. Well, when you're still telling me, I know already. Tu paga respect him, why? But it can him up here to Palais. I will tell all my friends from London, US and Dominica to come to Flossie's, right next to the Rosa Market. Open Sunday to Saturday. Flossie's can't do it to you.
Hardware and home improvement, building supplies for you, kitchen appliances, even home decor too. Lumber, lawn, all your garden supplies, plumbing, welding, electrical supplies.
Visit Do It Center at the former Jane Asset Hardware location on Goodwill Road. Call us at 255-6890. Do it Center.
If you know quality, then you must know the manufacturers of Dominica's finest rums. Belfast Estate Limited, over 80 years leading the industry with exceptional standards and formidable customer service. We present the manufacturers of BB Rum, Soca Rum, Red Cap Rum, Cask Rum, and the signature Belfast Estate Rum Punch. With island-wide distribution daily, Belfast Estate Limited has cemented its mark as the distributor of choice for products like Eldorado range of rums and creams, Kubali Bear, Corona Bear, Guinness, Root Boy drink, and of course, Sunblast juices, Thomas Snacks, Vitamalt, and Pine Hill juices. Call the office at 440-7032 or visit the distribution outlet at Jimmy Dominica. Follow on Facebook or Instagram at Belfast Estate. Belfast Estate Limited, your leading manufacturer and distributor of rums in Dominica.
The questions are coming in here. The question for the leaders: is Dominica considered the most underdeveloped within the OECS and CARICOM? If so, what went wrong? Because up to a few years ago, Dominica was ahead of many of the other countries. What went wrong, Thompson Fountain?
Roosevelt Skerrit and the Dominica Labour Party.
That's a simple answer.
That's it. That's it, Matt. They've been in office for the past 25 years. The responsibility ends at the feet of the Labour Party and the mismanagement of the economy, because they inherited an economy that was fairly buoyant, an economy that was employing the young people, an economy where agriculture was king. And they turned around and said agriculture is a has-been industry. They frittered away the resources from the CBI program and turned, once thriving farmers into persons having to wait for $300 handout. I mean, guys who used to make $3,000 a week, from their farming, some of them having to wait for $300 a day. All of that under the Dominica Labour Party. That's why it says it's simple. That's what happened. Bad governance under this Labour Party government.
More telephone calls, and I don't think I'll ask you the same question. What do you think went wrong? Because all other OECS countries are doing well. Where were we left behind?
It's the same answer. You see, but let me put a little nuance on it. You can your incentives determine your actions as a human being. And if you look at the incentives and what the Labour Party government has been trying to do over the past 25 years is to remain in power for certain economic and power privileges, right? When that is your incentive or your objective, rather than the objective of developing your country and developing the people and making it a prosperous nation, then you get all sorts of dysfunctional behaviors that are perfectly, however, functional behavior for you to remain in power. So the functional behavior, the necessary behavior, the kind of action you will take, the kind of activities you will do to remain in power are actually almost the polar opposites, or at the very least, very unhelpful in developing a prosperous, thriving economy. So that is the lens we have to look at it through. What has Dominica been very successful at doing? Keeping the Labour Party power in government. Very successful. Had we had this government or any government as focused on making Dominica a prosperous, stable, thriving economy with the same energy, effort, focus, incentive structure as they have had to remain in power, then we would have been a vastly different place. And I think I speak for all of us when I say these people in this room, the people in opposition who's trying to get into power, that is what the incentive structure and the motivation for us is to make Dominica as economically powerful as Roosevelt Skerrit has spent his time, his energy, and his intellect to make it a powerhouse political opportunity for himself.
Joshua?
Yes. Well, Matt, we cannot dispute the fact that we had certain setbacks with Tropical Storm Erica, Hurricane Maria, and the COVID pandemic. Those were setbacks and they affected the economy of Dominica. Cannot take that away from the equation. However, the government of Dominica has to take responsibility for where we are. We could be further ahead. And as you rightly pointed out, when you look at it from a relative or comparative point of view, St. Lucia is ahead, St. Kitts is ahead, St. Vincent, which lagged behind Dominica and significantly too in the 80s and 90s, is now ahead. And why are we here? Well, we are here because of mismanagement, because of misdirection, because this government never really formulated a proper economic roadmap. You have never heard from the leader of Dominica a policy that is defined short-term, medium-term, and long-term. We have never embraced a macroeconomic roadmap for Dominica. We can do so much better. The government mismanaged the resources. The government has been over-reliant on the CBI, which is a volatile area. The government has not developed the financial sector. It has not provided the conducive environment necessary for the private sector to grow. It has inflated the government sector. It has spent too much on social welfare programs. it has not provided the environment for productivity to increase. It has departed from traditional industries such as agriculture. It has not provided the environment for agro-processing. It has not relied on the gifts that we have, the water, the soil, the people. So the government has to take responsibility for where we are. But Matt, there is hope. Better days ahead, the best days for Dominica ahead.
All right, Dominica, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back, Dominica. Of course, it's the final day in December 2025. We'll come back and talk to you.
Experience the biggest night in Dominican music, the Dominica Music Awards 2025. Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, at the Intercontinental Dominica Cabarets Resort and Spa. Red carpet 6 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Showtime. Music, lights, and glitter. Theatrics, Nature Island Music Celebration. Limited tickets are available at Broadside Pharmacy for only $100. You requested it and we have heard by popular demand. Limited tickets are now available at the Broadside Pharmacy for $120. Rock the red carpet. Meet the celebrities. Be part of the memories and celebrate the habit of our culture. Get your tickets now at Bullseye Pharmacy. The Dominica Music Awards 2025, January 3rd, 2026, Intercontinental Hotel. The Dominica Music Awards, where culture shines and excellence rises.
All right, Dominica, you know it's the final day. There's celebrations taking place all over the place, huh? People observing. I think there's a big jam at the Fortune Hotel tonight to usher us into the new year. Also, there's something happening at Higgs up there in Sophia. Scott said after midnight mass. So there are places to be. Mr. Higgs, good afternoon to you. You taking a lime? Is that?
Well, I'm going to take a lime into a church.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I prefer to end the year and to start the year with God. Not that, God is not out of the church, but it's good to go, in a place of
And
worship.
celebrate, I agree.
Celebrate life, celebrate the blessings, the honor, and ask God for the strength and the wisdom and discernment to move forward.
I agree. No, let's talk unity. Of course, you guys you came here together, and of course, when I ask you, you always, oblige and come together and talk. Now, the people are now asking, how are you going to move forward in 2026 as a unified force? How do you plan? Somebody's asking, when are we going to see a big meeting with all the opposition parties in Lahore? What are you guys planning for the future? We have a few minutes.
Well,
in terms of coming together and fighting as a one force.
Well, we have already placed on public record our willingness to work as a team,
right.
And this afternoon is a testimony of our intention.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the references, the terms, the dynamics of how that is going to happen, some of which I would think that the two other leaders will not necessarily divulge in the public space, because strategies are not something that you display in the public.
Right.
It's something that it happens in the war room. But what I can say from where I am,
mm-hmm.
not only I have demonstrated my willingness to work with the two other leaders and political parties, I have been in process. I have been operating as a team player. And I hope that 2026 will be a year of unity. Our objective is to cause a change of government, not just to cause a change of government, but to institute gentlemen and women who have the ability, the love, and the care for Dominicans to bring that meaningful and profound change to make life better. So the people will see things happening. I mean, it happened at the right time. It's an organic process. It's a strategic process, and it's going to happen. We have to change this government.
Are you confident that you can do it together?
I am very confident. We are doing it together. Together, we are stronger. We are doing it together. We don't have a choice, man. We ought not to allow this Dominican Labour Party to go beyond this term. We have to get them out by all means necessary. By all means. And we have to put all our efforts together. We cannot wait until polling day for us to do the work. The work has started and it must continue. And everyone who is listening and want change has to be a leader in the circumstances. Take somebody to go and confirm to vote. Persuade a labor right to stop being a labor right and to give support to the opposition. encourage somebody to be a candidate at the next general election in favor of the opposition forces. All of us have to put hands on deck, and one by one, we're building that army to ensure whenever the bells are rung, that the Dominica Labour Party will be history in Dominica.
Are you
We have to save
confident? Are
our
you
children.
confident that Dominicans want that change?
I am very confident that Dominica needs that change. It's work in progress. There are still a number of Dominicans who have not seen the light. And that's where you're coming in. You have provided the medium for persons like me, Dr. Fountain, Bernardito, amongst others, to come to speak, to be messengers, to send that message of hope, to give that message to inspire each and every Dominican why we need change. There are millions of reasons why we need a change in Dominica. And at the heart of that is for the most vulnerable people, the children, the elderly. We need a Dominica where our children can grow and feel safe and comfortable and can realize dreams. And that is what we want. And we are going to get it hands in hands, heart in heart, mind in mind. It's a collective force. It's a unified force. And we are stronger together. And we're going to get it done, Matt. I believe that. Dominicans, join me. We are going to get it done. We need to get it done.
Thank you. Mr. Ito, moving forward, how do we fight together?
Well, I think we fight together because it is very necessary that we fight together. I think we all recognize that removing this Labour Party is a Herculean task. It is a huge task because they have such deep roots that they have put down over 25 years and they put so many obstacles up, and they don't play clean. So it's a huge task. It's going to take the effort of every Dominican. It's going to take the task of every leader, and we have to put our pieces together. We can't simply do it alone, and we have to get that puzzle together. It's also a very important thing for us to demonstrate, I think, teamwork. That teamwork is an issue that is a major issue in Dominica in all facets of life, in all organizations, in all working together, cooperating. Dominica is, I think, notorious for splintership, right? So we have to try to show a different vibe and model a different type of thing, and to show Dominicans that leadership can be a collective thing. An effective leader can be a collective. It does not have to be one superhuman prince. A leader can be, in fact, made up of a composite of good minds, different perspectives, different viewpoints, different strengths, different weaknesses that complement each other, and you put those pieces together. And I think we all appeal, I think, in our different parties to slightly different demographics and slightly different pockets of the voting public. And now we can aggregate and put those pieces together into a winning combination. And this is what it's about. And I think we are all committed to that goal. I think we all work closely together. We align definitely in philosophy. We believe in the need to change this government. We believe in transparent government, effective government, smart government, innovative government. These are all things that we are deeply aligned on. We are aligned on our economic ideas. And so there's not a lot of daylight between what we want to accomplish. The most important thing we have to accomplish, however, is the psychological hurdles, the ego hurdles, the machinery hurdles to put a working organization or put a working apparatus together where the opposition parties can work together. And that is the difficult task. And that's where we have to show leadership, ingenuity, creativity, administrative skill to allow the herding of those cats. Because let's not fool ourselves. To put something together like this is not an easy task. We know Dominicans, we know ourselves as Dominicans. There's a lot of hubris involved, ego, there's a lot of vested interests, historical interests, people who have vested things in different things being the way they are. And so we have to find a way to innovatively, creatively break barriers, get those who are recalcitrant in line, get people to see the wisdom and the vision of a unified effort, and work every day to be servants, not just to the society, but to our parties, to people we work with, so that we can build that good vibes, that social trust, that organizational trust, that leadership trust, that cross-party trust in the opposition. That is very, very necessary. Because if we do not build that sort of human, that social capital, that trust capital, among ourselves as supporters of different parties and among ourselves as supporters of leaders, then this thing will fly apart as it almost inevitably does in Dominica when we try to come together. So that's the real challenge. But as far as philosophy goes, as far as the desire and the need to do it, we are fully aligned on it. Now we have to go do the hard work in the trenches to win minds and hearts within our parties, within our sectors, within our splinter organizations, within different sectors of society. That's where we have to be clever and hardworking to pull these pieces together in a common trust to replace this government.
Thompson Fontaine.
Yes, Matt. I believe, as has been said clearly by both Josh and Bernard, that all of the opposition needs to be united against this government. After all, this is a government that has been entrenched for the past 25 years. And what is required is a concerted, unified effort to get this government out. And I believe that there is a clear understanding on everyone's part that is what needs to be done. Now, how we actually go about doing it is something that we have to continue to discuss. I think it's very important that we remain engaged as an opposition, talking to each other, of course, planning, strategizing. That's also critical for us to do. And I know that there are some, even within our own parties, that says, well, we can do it alone, or you don't need anybody else. I tend to believe that there is strength in numbers, that the more, because not everybody necessarily supports the United Workers' Party in opposition. The opposition is not just the UWP. We're a major part of it. There are others. There are those who support George. There are those who still support the Dominican Freedom Party. There are those who support the Todd party. There are those who are independent and not really aligned to any party, but they just want to see the end of this government. So I believe that there is a place for all of that opposition. I believe as leaders, what we have to keep doing is that we have to keep channeling and guiding this opposition, but that's very important, because sometimes without the proper guidance, the opposition itself can go into all different directions, and if you're splintered, if your focus is not the same, then that can lead to problems and chaos. So it's very important for us to continue to work together, to plan together, and to do everything possible to get rid of this government. And that's why I want to say a big thank you to the Dominican public that have stood with us over all these years, that have stood steadfast in opposition to what's going on and to this Dominican Labour Party government. I believe that together we are better, and we'll continue to work in that regard. And let me just say, Matt, we're having our first rally actually of the year on the 1st of February in Grand Fond. We'll be having a major political rally, a national rally. So we're inviting all of the opposition forces there, including, why am I invited those leaders there first? Come on.
Can we expect to see them on the platform as well?
Well, we are planning, we are discussing. I don't want to run ahead of the planning of where we are.
You wouldn't mind as Thompson Fontaine,
but definitely no. Yeah. I mean, it is an opposition rally. It is a rally against. I mean, it's sure it's been planned by the United Workers' Party government, but whatever support we can get, we certainly would encourage it. And the more people that can come up there in support, it's one supporting us is one against the government. So certainly we'll encourage that.
All right, Dominica. Joshua, would you want to be part of that? The final question as we go, and of course, Bernard as well.
Yeah, well, Matt,
and I know you have your rally coming up as well. January 3rd?
We have a public meeting at Sensi, Kalinago territory on the 3rd of January, this coming Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua Francis Energy is available for the opposition, for the people of Dominica.
Right.
The United Progressive Party remains steadfast in working for and on behalf of the people of Dominica. And let me take this opportunity to say thank you to each and everyone who has been praying for Joshua Francis, supporting me. And I will also extend it by saying thank you for praying for Dr. Fontaine, Bernard Ito, and other leaders in the opposition, and for Dominica. Because this is not only a political journey, this is a spiritual journey. And I believe moving forward, we have to dedicate and commit our efforts to the Almighty Father, asking for his discernment, his wisdom, his guidance, his courage, and strength to move forward. I believe if we stay focused, we avoid confusion in the opposition, big things ahead of us. I'm really excited about seeing a change in Dominica. And it's not just a change of government, but a change of people who are going to bring a better life for Dominica. And to me, that is what I'm in this for. To not just cause a change of government and change of office, but a change of mindset, a change of strategy to bring betterment for the people.
All right, so will we see you on that platform if invited, Dr. Ito, Mr.
Well,
Ito?
Well, like Josh said, my energies, my intellect is available to the opposition, and we will see exactly how that plays out and how exactly bandwidth allows and commitments allowed and different strategies allowed. But certainly, my commitment is to the opposition. So we'll see how it all plays out. Sometimes one is good, sometimes several is good from different angles. So we'll have to think through that out. It's not something that has really been determined or discussed yet, but I'm sure we'll talk about it. So yeah, in spirit, we're there.
All right, gentlemen, it was a pleasure. This is our final program for the year. I'm hoping to see more of you guys in the year 2026. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Matt. Thanks a lot. Appreciate
I
it.
think all of us should say Happy New Year to Dominica.
Dominica.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Où ça dit ça patois? Où ça dit? Où ça parle patois? Well, comment on dit Happy New Year? À patois.
Well, you go first.
Simplement, bon anniversaire, bon anniversaire, bon anniversaire.
That's a good way
Nous
to end it.
souhaiter tout Dominicain bon anniversaire et puis l'année ça qui a venu, nous voulons tout le monde faire bien, nous voulons voir Dominique venir en meilleure place pour nous toutes et puis moi voulais inviter tout Dominicain qui a écouté nous actuellement, moi voulais inviter eux pour venir 1er février nous joindre à Guanfon. Guanfon c'est un bel petit village qui pas loin Wozo et Canin Point 20 minutes 25 minutes 30 minutes à faire pour faire Guanfon et puis moi je voulais dire tout le monde qui écoute nous actuellement pour venir joindre nous à Guanfon quitter nous parler et puis moi je veux souhaiter tout Dominicain au fond de chez moi je voulais souhaiter yo une bonne année qui va venir et puis moi je voulais yo faire bien moi je voulais Dominique faire bien c'est nous connaître c'est il y a pile monde qui a souffert parce que yo pas qu'à aller à l'Amérique par exemple moi quand on homme qui mari qui famille a fait marié il y a un passeport l'Amérique mais lui-même il était supposé aller Barbade semaine prochaine ça pas qu'à fait encore mais c'est comme ça mais tout le monde bon anniversaire bonne année.
I suspect you want to say it in English.
Well, maybe I can translate. Yeah, but I think Thompson said it all and said it all very well. So no need to spoil it. But Happy New Year to everyone, and we definitely look forward to working with you as a team as we go forward into the new year.
Joshua Francis.
Bon anniversaire, Dominique.
You waiting for Thompson to speak.
So who can say Thompson dit ça seulement upon Hot Thompson? C'est ça ou dit?
Oui.
Moka parler créole.
Pas model langue comme ça.
Pas model langue. Happy New Year, Dominique.
Thank you.
I love you.
This one called Let's Rise Antigua. Let's remove the word Antigua and put Dominic in there. Swallow.
We must look at them. Stop telling us to go. What we all know. We must hand in hand, for we society depends on all that we grow. All we just grow. Just to keep it right, we will make it side by side, getting one another. For a mighty God was on the road. All we just grow. We have room, plenty room for improvement. What we need is a support the heart and soul. It is not what we do with our commitment. To succeed should be our ultimate goal. Oh, every must be great. Never want to stop problem once and for all. Without back and cooperation is the viable path. If you need a place to make a fresh start, don't mind how far you get attention. When we start to be much so concerned. When we look ahead, just so bold, money on the road. It is rough, it is tough, but we can't give up. Struggle day after day until we succeed. There are those who don't care about this land welfare. It is sad, really sad, very sad indeed. It's time to take a deal with this youth.